Crane and the Cowboy, we're talking about the Constitution quite a bit on our website, and this is a perfect example of whether it's a constitutional right or not, whether it's discrimination or not. We're talking about this transgender bathroom issue. It has been the law here in California in the schools for a couple of years now, and it's starting to be exported. North Carolina wants to have similar accommodations. The governor so far is saying no.
Yeah, and everybody's looking at the North Carolina law as if the legislature just popped it up. No, the city of Charlotte decided to go the California way, and the legislature says, I don't think so. But it does go back to the Constitution. And we're looking at this, from the emotional side, from the, quote, the sexual side, any of this stuff, identity. But it goes to the Constitution. What right does the federal government have to come in and tell local school districts what they're supposed to do when it comes to this issue? I mean, do the states have any rights anymore? And are the states finally going to stand up? And in this case, you got 26 states that are going to stand up and say enough is enough. And that's why the Convention of States we always talk about is important. That's why adhering to the Constitution is important, and something's got to break on this thing.
President Obama is threatening to withhold federal funds from school districts that don't comply. That would be to have accommodations for children who believe that they are one sex other than their biological sex. Now, the question I always ask is, what about psychological counseling? This is not a normal childhood growth spurt.
No, it's not. And a lot of the leading, the American Association of Pediatric Psychology said this is crazy, some of the stuff these folks are doing out there. You got Johns Hopkins doesn't perform surgeries anymore for me because they believe it's a mental disorder. The problem to me is, once again, if California wants to do what California wants to do and decides to, go fall off the end of the earth, let them. Right. But that doesn't mean Texas has to do the same thing, or North Carolina, or any other place.
But getting back to the constitutional role here, both Hillary Clinton and her opponent have different views on it. Donald Trump says it's a states' rights matter, which we might tend to agree with. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders both said that they will, quote, fix it if they're elected, meaning that they will put some sort of a federal impetus on this. And where in the Constitution does it say this? The other thing is it really discrimination? No one is being denied a bathroom.
No.
They're just being denied a bathroom of a sex they aren't.
Exactly, and we've now entered into our world sexual identity. Think about that. Not gender by chromosomes, not gender by birth, gender by because you identify as something. And I think it just opens up way too many things. Look at, they're going to get to a point with this Title IX thing. You're going to have a guy, as we talked about before, who's a big old fellow, who's going to decide he wants to play on the women's basketball team and grow his hair long and take some hormones. And that's going to be something that I'm waiting to see what the women's movement does about that.
Well, it is a big can of worms. And once again, if you read the Constitution, and there are those in the judiciary who believe it's a living document that can be altered. A lot of people believe it's just the way the founders wrote it. It can be amended from time to time, but don't take this and extrapolate that. So that's where we are. And it would be certainly a 10th Amendment issue, if anything, because then it goes back to the states.
Right, and that's where it belongs. It belongs with the local school district. And if you look at it, even in North Carolina and in Texas, they've said, look, if a school district in Fort Worth, wants to do something, if the parents approve, okay. But don't do something and just impose it from a federal level where the parents have no input at all. And this is going to divide people, not along party lines. This is going to divide traditional America from alternative America.
Well, they're burning the American flag and waving the Mexican flag against Donald Trump. We'll talk about that next.